everyone. In this video, I'm breaking down Lucifer Volume 4, The Divine Comedy. Last volume, Lucifer opened up his cosmos, his universe, to everyone, so everyone that wanted to leave God's universe and enter Lucifer's can. And now we will see the repercussions of that. What is Lucifer's world going to be like when a whole bunch of people move in? Let's dive into it. Lucifer, Volume 4.
Lucifer, Volume 4, The Divine Comedy. Written by Mike Carey, art by Peter Gross, Ryan Kelly, and Dean Ormston. Lucifer, Issue 21, Paradiso, Part 1 of 3. Over in Las Vegas, Jill Presto is enjoying her newfound powers, and she has used those powers to become a famous singer. She is singing on stage and the crowd loves her. After her show, she goes backstage and talks with one of her people about future work, new songs, magazine covers, etc. While Jill is relaxing backstage, all of a sudden, the Innocence card from Jill's powers speaks with her. They tell Jill that the Basinos must act through her again. Jill doesn't really want to break away from her life right now. She's got a lot going on. Jill says, "Look, it's not so easy for me to get away right now. I'm booked through the summer. I've got commitments here." But the Basinos cards will not take no for an answer. The Innocence card replies, "You have what we have given you, and we're always very clear about the price." The Basinos tarot cards then violently spill out of Jill, and they tell her that their hour of glory is at hand. But first comes the struggle. For us to rise, the morning star must fall again. The Basinos has her do their bidding, basically making Jill their slave who must do what they say. The first thing they have her do is resurrect Cestus. Jill does this by spreading blood and guts and various body parts around the floor of her hotel room. Then the Basinos has Jill recite some incantations, and then Cestus reforms in the room. Cestus returns asked, "What? Why have you brought me back?" The Basinos answers, "You are without form and void, but we can give you back all you've lost if you will be our agent in a certain matter." Cestus, whose mind seems to be somewhat wiped, asks, "What matter?" The Basinos says, "A matter in which for the time being our hand must be concealed. It concerns Lucifer, if you still remember that name." Cestus answers, "I remember nothing. I want to know myself. I want my face back. It seems I should not trust you, but I will agree to your terms." The Basinos then send Cestus out to do their bidding and kill for them. Once that is done, Jill asks, "Alright, so I'm gonna leave now, okay? I've got another set to do." The Basinos is not done with Jill, though. They say, "A performance? No, that's not possible. You need to rent a car. You have a journey to go on." Jill argues back, "I don't even drive." The Basinos replies, "Well then, arrange some other transport. We'll need you for a few hours more. Or for 1,000 years. It depends on how you count." Elsewhere, over to Lucifer. He has opened his cosmos to the entire world. So anyone that wants to leave God's creation and enter his now can. Lucifer, he watches as many enter his cosmos, and then he appears before them. He appears as a giant in the sky, and he tells them, "You have been looking for a new world, and now you've found it. Congratulations. And a word of warning, remember that my hand is outstretched above you in a literal, not a metaphorical sense. There are certain things I won't tolerate. Don't bring the habit of worship here with you. If you set up churches or call yourselves gods, I'll destroy you. That's all. I don't believe in doves or covenants, and you will know you've displeased me if the sky turns black." Lucifer, he then disappears, and for a god, he didn't really have many rules other than not to worship him. Some of the new people that entered Lucifer's kingdom, they hear his message and they decide, well, they better do what he says. So they abandon their crosses and religious symbols and embrace worshipping nothing. Elsewhere in the Las Vegas desert, the Basinos had Jill hitch a ride with someone way out into the desert there, and they had Jill approach one of Lucifer's gateways into his newly opened kingdom. They will soon order Jill to go through it. We jump over to Elaine Belloc in England. As she is flying in the sky with her angel wings, she runs into a creature named Gaudium. Gaudium is a fallen angel known as a cherub. The cherub used to be these spherical angels of light. Gaudium, he used to be the aspect of joy when he was in this cherub form. But Gaudium, he sided with Lucifer in Lucifer's war with heaven, pre-Lucifer's fall. And when Lucifer lost his war with heaven, Gaudium was cast out. And now he is a fallen angel. And he has an impish type appearance now. Gaudium warns Elaine that she is about an hour away from agonizing death, and that she should follow him if she wants to live. Elaine does so. The creature says he was here to lead Elaine to safety. Elaine asks, by who? Gaudium answers, oh, by Lucifer, of course. I mean, check out the wings. You can see I'm not a local talent, right? You can trust me. Elaine does not trust the creature, though. She stuffs him into a garbage can and says, I think you want to lead me off into the dark to some place where your friends are waiting, and I'm not falling for it. So Elaine takes off, and later that night, she goes over to her friend's house. At first, the night is going normal enough, but then Elaine's dad shows up. Only her dad is being a real dick. He's yelling at Elaine, saying, Elaine, it's your dad. Get your coat. You're coming home. Elaine responds, Dad, I'm just doing some homework. I'll be back before 10. That's okay. Elaine's dad yells, No, it isn't okay. Do you think I'm an idiot? Do you think I don't know what you did? You made a pact with Lucifer. You kissed his ring and you signed your name in his book. Eventually, Elaine's supposed father reveals he is actually the shapeshifter Cestus, here on orders from the Bassinos to kill Elaine. Cestus transforms into her more horrific appearance, and then she attempts to claw at Elaine and tackle her to the ground. Lucifer issue 22, Paradiso, part 2 of 3. Cestus continues attacking Elaine and her friends, but that Gaudium creature that we met last issue saves Elaine by stealing a truck and driving it right into the home of Elaine's friends and running Cestus over. Elaine's friends seem like they may be dead. Elaine wants to get them help, but Gaudium argues with Elaine saying, That thing is a frickin' gin and mock! They throw trucks at each other as a sign of friggin' affection! No, he advises Elaine that they should try and get out of here, and the two of them then flee. We jump over to Jill Presto and the Bassinos. They force Jill to walk right up to the gateway leading into Lucifer's cosmos. They then tell Jill to peek inside with just her head. So Jill does so. And in Lucifer's cosmos, time moves much faster. Basically, for every hour in our universe, or God's universe, thousands of hours or even days or years could pass in Lucifer's universe. The exact numeric value isn't specified beyond the vague wording of thousands of times faster. But basically, there is a time dilation and time is moving much faster in Lucifer's world. And because Jill is half in and half out of the cosmos, Jill perceives Lucifer's cosmos moving at this super speed. She perceives thousands of years of human production and technological development happening in just seconds. The Bassinos explains to Jill, in Lucifer's cosmos, time moves differently. As long as you stay on this side of the gate, you will perceive it thus. Jill asks the Bassinos, What are we doing here? The Bassinos answers, Waiting. Back over to Elaine. Gaudium warns her that the Bassinos can see the future, and for some reason they deem Elaine important enough to the future, and that is why they tried to wipe her out with Cestus. We jump over to Mazikeen and the Lilim in exile. They are still pissed at Lucifer for rejecting their offer of guarding his cosmos in exchange for a homeland in his cosmos. Lucifer, he really disrespected them. The Lilim hold a debate, and they decide if they are going to go to war with Lucifer. Mazikeen advises against it, saying the cost would be too high. But she says, "It is my place to enforce the will of this assembly, so she will abide by whatever they want to do." So the assembly holds a vote, and they decide to indeed go to war. Mazikeen will uphold their wishes and lead their war party. Back over to Jill Presto. The Bassanos have now had Jill watch Lucifer's cosmos grow over time for about an hour. An hour in God's time, but it's been thousands and thousands of years in Lucifer's cosmos' time. Lucifer's cosmos has now gotten to the point technologically where they're way past the Industrial Revolution. They now have skyscrapers and flying ships. The Bassanos are waiting for Lucifer to look away from his creation, and then they will pounce. But for now he is watching, so they will continue to wait. Elaine Belloc and Gaudium continue to try and evade Cestus. They are traveling through some tunnels, but it is no use. Cestus tracks them down and attacks them again. Cestus grabs Elaine, smacks her around, shakes her around, throws her down in these tunnels, and causes the tunnels to collapse down on her. Back over to Mazikeen. She has gone to the Lux to parley with Lucifer. She goes inside the Lux and goes up to his gateway, and she yells at Lucifer, "Come out and talk to me! You owe me that much." So Lucifer leaves his cosmos through the gateway to talk with Mazikeen. Although now, Lucifer is not inside his cosmos and he's no longer watching it. Mazikeen shares that the Lilim have voted for war against him. Lucifer responds, "I know, I'm prepared for war." Mazikeen makes her case, saying, "Look, I lost my face in your service, and you've opened the doors to everyone else. All the Lilim are asking for is a realm of their own." Lucifer isn't interested. He says, "Now, is this really all about territory, or is this about you and me?" So while Lucifer is distracted in this conversation with Mazikeen, the Bassanos have detected Lucifer is no longer watching, so now is their time to strike. They have Jill fully enter Lucifer's cosmos. And thanks to the way that time moves differently inside the cosmos, they now have plenty of time to make some moves before Lucifer returns. Jill, she is uneasy with everything the Bassanos is doing, but she has no choice but to obey them and let them do what they want to do. The Bassanos tarot card spirits then triumphantly travel into a town square. The mortals in town are almost in awe of the Bassanos' power. They ask them what they are doing here. The Bassanos spirits answer, "Why, we're here to fulfill you, to bring you what you have craved for all these generations. Children of Lucifer, you have real gods now. Bow down to us." We go back now to Lucifer and Mazikeen. Lucifer tells Mazikeen, "Look, you I will allow, but my world is no heaven nor hell. I have no intention of importing them." Mazikeen says, "The Lilim belong to neither. Give them what they ask and they'll swear fealty to you." Lucifer to this says, "Of course they will. And then they'll split into a dozen factions and argue about the small print forever. They whine even as they bite, like dogs." Mazikeen responds, "As you will then. Take this as a declaration of war." Lucifer, he then gets distracted. He notices something is off in his cosmos. He tells Mazikeen, "Something has come up. My offer stands. Come alone and you'll be welcome." Lucifer, he then goes back inside his void. We head back over to Elaine. Cestus appears to have killed Elaine, perhaps. Gaudium is so worried he failed. He starts speaking to himself. "Ah, Jesus, I'm in such deep shit. Deep, 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 deep. He's gonna blame me for this. There's no way he's gonna listen to my version of events." Elaine, even though her physical body seems dead, she manages to fly around in her astral form. Gaudium, surprised and scared, says, "Ah! Look, it wasn't my fault, Elaine. If you would have run when I first asked you, you wouldn't have died." Elaine to this says, "I'm not dead. I'm spirit walking. I think angels must be really hard to kill. Come on, we're gonna find Lucifer. You'll know what to do." Lucifer issue 23, Paradiso, part 3 of 3. In Lucifer's cosmos, the Basanos are talking with the civilians. The civilians explain, "We don't worship. We're forbidden to. There are no gods here." The Basanos argue back, "But there are. We are gods." The civilians remain steadfast, though. They say, "If you're gods, then I've no wish to offend, but I can't bow down to you. I'm sorry." The Basanos continues, "Well, we will have you on your knees one way or another, man. For your sake, you might have chosen the easier road." The civilian responds, "As I said, I'm sorry." The Basanos to this says, "Oh, don't be sorry. We like it just as much this way." All of a sudden, the Basanos cause anarchy. An earthquake shakes the ground. An explosion of flames shoot up. All of a sudden, the civilians, fearful, start bending the knee, and they say, "Basanos, I understand your power a little better now. I bow to you, and I beg you to stop this." The Basanos do not stop, though, and they keep exerting their power to grow their influence here. Eventually, we see the Death Tarot card flying high above in the sky, as the sky is filled with smoke from the fires below. Jill Presto is not pleased with what the Basanos are doing. She yells, "You bastards! You knew this would happen!" When Jill keeps cursing out the Basanos, they strike back at her, causing her hand to explode. Jill screams out in pain. Elsewhere, we see Lucifer re-entering his void. The Basanos spirits detect Lucifer's return, and they prepare for a confrontation. And elsewhere, Gaudium and the spirit of Elaine Belloc, they travel to a gateway into Lucifer's cosmos, and they enter it, as Elaine wishes to track Lucifer down. And while all of this is happening, over in the Japanese hell, in the House of Windowless Rooms, we see Susano performing some sort of ritual. Previously in Lucifer issues 5 through 8, when Lucifer traveled to the House of Windowless Rooms, at the end of that story arc when Lucifer retrieved his wings, Izanami did something to taint them. She secretly switched 4 of Lucifer's feathers with dove feathers, thus enabling her son Susano to perform a ritual which will cause Lucifer's power to double back onto him. So Susano is doing this ritual. He picks up 2 flaming swords. They are hot in his hands. And then we see 2 bird cages with doves inside. We'll return to this later. Let us now re-enter the cosmos. Lucifer flies over and confronts the Basanos spirits. The Innocence card spirit asks, "Will you speak with us before you strike, Morning Star?" Lucifer responds, "There's nothing to say." So while they parley, we see Gaudium and the spirit of Elaine Belloc now enter Lucifer's cosmos as well, and they are watching the confrontation between Lucifer and the Basanos go down. The Death card spirit says to Lucifer, "Lucifer, you know nothing of our power." Lucifer responds, "And I care nothing for it. I should have dealt with you in Germany, Basanos, but I suppose your breath was on the dice. You touched what was mine. You chose this death." Just before Lucifer is about to strike, back in the House of Windowless Rooms, Susano continues the ritual. He has some of his servants take the 2 doves from their bird cages. The servants then release the doves, and Susano, with his flaming swords, strikes them down, killing them. And back in Lucifer's cosmos, as he is about to strike the Basanos, all of a sudden his wings explode into flames. Lucifer, he lights on fire. His power seems to be hurting him. The Innocence Tarot card explains what is happening as such. She says, "You see it now, as we saw it 2 years ago, when you commanded us to foretell your future, when we realized for the first time that you could be defeated. The power you summoned to destroy us is still inside you, held there by the feathers that Izanami wove into your wings. A great magic morning star and very slow in the weaving. Not as great as the forces at your disposal, of course, but then that's the point. When you raise your hand to strike, the stars themselves dim. So how long will you be able to balance those forces within yourself before they consume you?" Lucifer, he seems to explode in flames and he screams, "Ah!" His body seems to turn into a crisp, and like a fallen angel, he begins plummeting to the surface. Elaine Belloc in her spirit form begins flying over to Lucifer. She grabs onto him. She attempts to stop him from falling. The Bassinos spirits watching from afar comment, "The half-angel, or assassin, miscarried. It doesn't matter though, she's too late. The outcome is certain now." Elaine continues to try and stop Lucifer from plummeting, but she eventually fails and lets go as Lucifer smacks down on the surface, burnt to a crisp. Lucifer, Issue 24, The Writing on the Wall. This issue is set in Lucifer's cosmos, in the time before last issue, in the time before the Bassinos took over and fought Lucifer, and eventually led to Lucifer's downfall. So inside Lucifer's cosmos, in a village called Brightholt, there lived a race of centaurs. You know, the half-man, half-horse people. One of the female centaurs was a woman named Essa Hain. Essa Hain was a sorceress. She knew magic and protected her village with her magic from their two-legged rivals in another neighboring village called Iblis. Essa Hain had a husband named Geth and 3 children, a male named Vale, and 2 females, one named Essa Hensha and another named Essa Kira. Essa Kira is the important character we will be focusing on though. So, Essa Kira, just like her mother, had a spark of magic in her. So, Kira's mother taught her sorcery, so that one day, Kira could protect her people, just like her mother did. Years go by, Kira grows up, her mother continues to teach her various magics. As Kira is growing up, she has visions of the Maker, of Lucifer. She had visions of his demise from the Bassinos and the events we saw last issue. Kira, she felt like she should warn the Maker, warn Lucifer of his impending doom. Kira's mother tried to dissuade her of that though. She told her that, for the Maker was like a rock in shallow waters, where great ships passed. There are rocks on which you build, and there are rocks in which you break. Kind of an ominous warning. But Kira ignored her mother, and her mother wept because she could sense the future. She knew that Kira would leave them in an attempt to find the Maker and warn him. And eventually Kira did just that. When she was 13 years old, she left to go on a journey to find the Maker and warn him. She left her family, and even her sweetheart, named Inu, behind, who had even proposed marriage to her, but she had to turn him down, for this journey was too important to her. Kira, she traveled long and far. She had to find the Maker. She knew of the gateways in their world. Folks knew them as doorways to other worlds. For the most part, though, people avoided the gateways, for who could want more than what the Maker had already given them? But in the islands of the south, sailors said there is a gate 100 hands high, which opens to a palace of white marble. Kira hypothesized that this was surely the gateway to the Maker's house. So Kira boarded a boat and she traveled across the sea, and eventually she arrived at the gateway to the Maker's house. And she walked through the gateway and entered our world. What Kira did not know, though, was that time moved slower in our world. For every few minutes here, years were passing back in Kira's home. Kira, thinking that she was in the right place, screamed out, "Maker, I've come from Brightholt with a warning. I dreamed about your death." Although Lucifer was not there, so he did not answer. Kira, she then decided to explore, and she walked on, and she saw our world. She expected a city of gods. Instead, she just saw a sketchy downtown. And when the humans saw her, a centaur, running around, they tried to capture her. So Kira, she fearfully ran away, and she went back to the gateway, and the Maker was still not there. So Kira decided that she would just leave a message outside the gateway and hope that that would be sufficient. So Kira, with some paint, painted a warning for Lucifer in the form of a drawing. And then with her warning painted, she returned back to her world. When Kira went back into Lucifer's cosmos, she did not know that time had passed much quicker here. Kira began the long journey back home. Things looked a little different than how she remembered, but eventually she made it back to her home village, and she saw an old centaur, and she thought it was her father, but it was not. The centaur was actually Vale, Kira's brother. When Kira left, Vale was just a young boy, but now he is an old man. This is when Kira learns that 60 years had passed since she left. Her brother recognized her and was surprised to see her. He thought that she was dead. She did not look a day older than when she left, but of course, her brother was an old man now. Vale then explained that Kira's mother died 10 years after she left, and her father killed himself, throwing himself on her funeral pyre like a good husband was expected to do. Then, their two-legged enemies from Iblis attacked their village, and with Kira's mother, the village sorcerer, gone, and with Kira away, there was no sorceress there to stop them. And Kira's potential fiancé, Enyu, died in the battle, and Kira's sister was sold into slavery. Her brother Vale lived on, though, as a laborer. When Kira learns of this, she travels to Iblis, and with her sorcerer powers, kills all the villagers and burns it to the ground. Afterwards, Kira, she lived on as a sorceress. And eventually, another 60 years passed in Lucifer's cosmos, and Kira was now an old woman herself. Kira eventually found another village girl who had a spark of magic in her, just like she did. So Kira gave her sorcery lessons, the same ones her mother gave her. Kira was now 74 years old, and the story of her life was almost complete. But she wanted to see the Maker one more time before she died. She wanted to see if the warning that she gave had saved him, the warning that she lost so much to give. So Kira began the long journey back to the gateway where she wrote the message. She traveled across the sea, she traveled to the gateway, and she walked through it. And when she saw her warning, it looked like nothing had changed. It was almost the same. For remember, only a few minutes had actually passed here, although Kira did not understand all of that. Kira was confused. The paint was still wet. Kira painted this 60 years ago. It was in that moment Kira saw how small a thing her life was in the Maker's scales. How centaurs and men must seem like mayflies to the Maker, that dance for a day and then are gone. This filled Kira with anger. She decided to remove her warning, and she began to smear it away. And that is when Lucifer arrived. Lucifer says to Kira, "I am certain I didn't ask for this to be done. To be honest, I find the colors a touch subdued." When Kira saw Lucifer, there was no doubt in her mind that this was the Maker, for she had seen him in her dreams. Lucifer asked, "You're from my world. Kira answered, "Yes, Maker, I am." Lucifer asked, "Then what are you doing here?" Kira answered, "I came to bring you a message, but then I changed my mind." Lucifer, looking at the painting, says, "A message, I see. Well, if that was what you were up to, I'll overlook the intrusion, but don't push it. You're unlikely to find me in such a mellow mood twice running." Kira told Lucifer, "It was something I saw in a dream, a warning, a danger to you." Lucifer dismisses her warnings. He says, "Well, then you changed your mind, as you said. I suppose I'll have to do without your warning." She then left Lucifer and returned back through the gateway and home. Once in her homeworld, some more time passed, and eventually, Kira saw the Basinos flying in the sky, and Kira then knew that the visions she saw as a child are now about to come to pass. Lucifer, issue 25, Purgatorio, part 1 of 3. It has been 8 days since Lucifer fell. The Basinos have seized utter control of his cosmos, and no one can stand up to them. They are causing death and anarchy all over. Jill Presto tries to escape the torment of the Basinos that they have put her through, but the Basinos still needs her. So even after Jill attempts to commit suicide by slitting her throat, she lives. The Basinos keep her alive. They tell Jill, "In the interests of security and stability, Jill Presto, certain basic freedoms have been suspended. I assure you it's only temporary. All our power is focused on you. You are a prism through which destiny bends as it passes. The sun could sooner douse itself in the sea than your body could sustain a wound." Jill argues with the Basino spirit, saying she doesn't want to see any more of this horror. But the Basinos tell Jill, "If you renew your oath to us, we will restore your hand." Jill, she lost her hand last story arc. Jill yells back, "Screw you! You pulled the city down on all those people. And if you should ever happen to be disemboweled, I'd cheerfully use your guts as fairy lights." Elsewhere in Lucifer's cosmos, Mazikeen leads the Lilim war party through the gateway, and as they enter Lucifer's cosmos, they prepare for war with him, only to realize that the Basinos have taken over. Mazikeen talks with the Death Tarot card of the Basinos, who says, "I bring you excellent news, daughter of Lilith. Lucifer is dead, slain by the Basinos." Mazikeen in anger strikes the spirit down with her sword. The spirit responds to Mazikeen, "Your reaction is chimerical and ill-judged. I propose an alliance. We can share this world." Mazikeen asks, "It's not your world to dispose of. If Lucifer is dead, then show me the body." The tarot card confesses, "He is dead, believe me, nothing that lives could have survived the blow we struck. But as to the body, we've temporarily lost it." Later on, Mazikeen reports back to the other Lilim what she learned, and they are unclear how to proceed. They wonder what strategy would lead the Basinos to give away the land that they've fought so hard to win. Mazikeen theorizes they don't intend to give it away. They want a respite, that's all, and if promises will buy it for them, they'll dispense promises like water. For now, Mazikeen suggests that they accept the Basinos' offer and find out more. Elsewhere, we see Elaine Belloc and Gaudium are searching for Lucifer. Elaine, she detects Lucifer at the bottom of a mountain, detects that he is under it. So in her astral form, she flies through the mountain, shifting through it downward. Eventually, she arrives beneath it, where she finds Lucifer's body burned to ashes, although faintly he is still alive. Watching over his body is the angel Melios. Melios was the one that created the Basinos spirits, and now he feels bad for all the destruction they have caused. Melios and Elaine talk. Melios, he feels like this is all his fault. The Basinos spirits then move on to the next part of their plan. They seek to create a child, a messianic figure they can manipulate to control the future. They choose Jill Presto as the vessel for this child. The Basinos then come together and they form a kind of magical cloud-looking sperm thing, and the sperm cloud chases after Jill. Jill begins to run away from it. She's running, she jumps out of the tower, leaping to her death. But the sperm cloud thing of the Basinos swoops down and grabs Jill. And then they magically rape Jill in the sky, and in a way impregnate her, giving her a fertilized egg of their spawn. So that was pretty wild. Back over to Lucifer. Death of the Endless arrives to inspect Lucifer. She sees his body and says aloud, that bad, eh? I know, not quite time yet, but this one I had to see for myself. Lucifer, issue 26, Purgatorio, part 2 of 3. Susano arrives in Lucifer's cosmos to meet with the Basinos. Susano speaks with the Innocence card on important matters. Through their conversation, Susano brings up Jill, and the Innocence card becomes angered. She says, the vessel is sleeping. She sleeps until she is delivered of our children. But that isn't why you came here. Susano then calms the Basinos down by revealing his true purpose for coming. Susano's mother, Izanami, believes that Lucifer is actually still alive, and should that be true, then all of them are in great danger. So he has brought his deceased brother Kagetsuchi's hunting animals as a gift for the Basinos to use to try and take out Lucifer for good. While that is going on, Lucifer's body is still lying lifeless, and his astral form appears to be stuck in some sort of limbo. He can't heal himself to escape limbo, so he is forced to wait until another option opens to him. While in limbo, Lucifer speaks with Death of the Endless. Surprised and startled by her being there, he says, You have no claim on me. Death replies, never said I did, but the big wheels are turning, obviously. Everyone needs to know what happens next. Elsewhere, we see Elaine and Melios talking over Lucifer's charred body. Melios is trying to heal Lucifer and revive him, but it's not working. He explains to Elaine, I've been trying to heal him, splicing my own life force to his, but it hasn't worked. My maker didn't design me as a conduit for power on that scale. Tell me, Elaine, if you could save Lucifer by running a single errand for me, would you do it? Elaine enthusiastically says, don't be stupid, of course. Where do you want me to go? Melios tells Elaine in there, pointing to Lucifer's charred body. Elsewhere, we see the Basinos with the hunting hounds gifted to them by Susano begin trying to sniff out and find Lucifer. And elsewhere, we see Mazikeen talking with the Lilim, and she seems to have concocted some sort of plan. And back in Limbo, Elaine's spirit manages to find Lucifer there as he is mid-conversation with Death. Elaine, she is following the orders that Melios told her. Elaine, when she finds Lucifer, says to him, Hey, Lucifer, I was sent to find you. You have to take my hand and then I'll be a conductor or something. It will give you strength. So if you touch my hand, the power will flow and you'll be able to heal all your burns. So Lucifer, he grabs Elaine's hand, and sure enough, Lucifer is finally able to heal, and he wakes up from limbo, and he is in his body again, and it is no longer charred. And when he wakes up, he sees Melios standing over him. Melios tells Lucifer, Rise slowly, Morning Star, and be at peace. This place is a secret unpenetrated by the Basinos and their servants. Lucifer responds, Melios, not the face I was expecting, I admit. After Germany, I thought you'd try for some kind of revenge. Melios answers, oh, but I did. I considered more dramatic gestures, but I needed you alive, and this is revenge enough. By restoring you to health, I have punctured the cocoon of self-sufficiency, making your life contingent on mine. You'll always know, Lucifer, that as long as you exist, you'll remember that your life was once a gift in my bestowing. Lucifer responds, yes, very neat, tellingly ironic. Lucifer, he then inquires about Izanami's feathers that were mixed in with his own wings when he burned. Lucifer says that the feathers absorbed most of his power, and they may be crucial for what comes next. Soon afterwards, the Bassinos with the hunting hounds arrive near the mountain entrance where Lucifer and Melios are. And back in Limbo, Elaine speaks with Death. Elaine seems to recognize who Death is. Elaine asks about her friend, Mona Doyle, who she was looking for, and if Death knows where she is. Death says she does know where Mona is. Elaine asks if Death can take her to Mona. Death replies, yeah, I could do that. It's not far when you come right down to it. You want to come through here? Here, follow me and we'll be there in a New York minute. So Elaine follows Death, and she becomes excited. She says, oh my god, I looked everywhere for Mona, and I could have just gone and asked you any time. Death responds, well, no, you couldn't have. Not any time. Elaine, she's puzzled, and then she realizes that she herself must be dead now, and that is why Death can take her to her friend, Mona. Elaine gave up whatever was left of her life force to save Lucifer. Elaine begins to mourn her own death. Death tells Elaine, I'm really sorry, Elaine. What you gave him was life, you know, and there's only so much to go around. Lucifer issue 27, Purgatorio part 3 of 3. The Bassinos and the Hounds close in on Lucifer and Melios' location. Lucifer, thanks to the shenanigans from Susano and Izanami, is now powerless, so long as he does not have the missing tainted feathers that were in his wings. Melios is concerned that Lucifer, without the full strength of his power, they will not be able to fight the Bassinos back. Lucifer, he tells Melios to hold them off, for now. So Melios heroically goes outside to confront the Bassinos, and they begin fighting. Elsewhere, in North London, we see Elaine's adopted parents confirm that Elaine does in fact seem dead, crushed in the collapsed tunnel. They confirm that the body is indeed hers. Up in the Silver City in heaven, the Archangel Michael is told by some other angels that God has summoned him. Back to Melios. He is continuing to hold the Bassinos off, but he is losing the fighting. However, he gets saved by an interruption from Mazikeen and the Lilim fighters as they join in on the battle on Melios' side. As the fighting is going on, Susano begins walking away, and as he walks, he manages to find the two tainted feathers that were in Lucifer's wings. The feathers that absorbed all of Lucifer's powers, thanks to Susano's magical ritual he performed earlier. As Susano touches the feather, he feels Lucifer's power within them. So Susano picks them up and he tucks them into his belt. And then he leaves and begins his long walk home, abandoning the Bassinos behind him. Back up in heaven, Michael begins ascending a very large staircase heading towards a massive doorway. Michael, or anyone really being called before God, is a rare occurrence, for you cannot come before God unless you are called, an event that occurs less frequently than ice ages. Michael, he finally enters the doorway and he is in front of God, in front of the presence. God speaks out, "Michael?" Michael responds, "Father?" God continues, "Did I not tell you that your brother Lucifer was given over to destruction? That if heaven only held its hand, he would surely die, and all his work come to naught?" Michael responds, annoyed, "Yes, that is what you told me." God continues, "But you did not hold your hand. You sent the fallen cherub, Gaudium, to save your daughter, and through her intervention, Lucifer too was saved. Was this obedience? Was this fealty?" Michael responds, "Father, my daughter died restoring Lucifer to health. In spite of all I did, she died, and even her spirit is lost to me. What penance can you find to add to that?" And God gave his answer, and Michael wept. Back in Lucifer's cosmos, the battle continues. The Basanos versus Melios and Mazikeen and the Lilim. The Basanos spirits eventually manage to get into the cave where Lucifer was, only to realize that he has slipped away. Lucifer, he goes to where Jill Presto is being held. He tells her, "Wake up." Jill is surprised to see Lucifer. She replies, "Oh my God, you." Lucifer to this says, "Then you've heard the rumors of my death." Jill then explains that it wasn't her, it was the cards, and they used her. And they screwed her over too. They made her pregnant and she can't even kill herself. Lucifer seems to be developing a plan. He tells Jill, "Perhaps I can help you there." Back to the Basanos, they realize that Lucifer has slipped away, so they no longer continue fighting Mazikeen and Melios, as the battle is not there anymore. So as they head off to go track Lucifer down, Melios and Mazikeen talk. Melios, a little surprised, asks, "You fought on Lucifer's side, Mazikeen. I did not expect that. What do you gain if he survives?" Mazikeen answers, "Everything." Over to Lucifer in the tower where Jill Presto is. They are soon joined by the Basanos. Lucifer has his hand around Jill Presto's throat. He is threatening to kill her, which the Basanos would not like, as Jill Presto is impregnated with their seed. Lucifer tells the Basanos, "Just one of you, the rest can keep their distance." So the Innocence card spirit, she flies down to parley with Lucifer. The Innocence card says, "Lucifer, this is farcical. You're still too weak to fight us. And the vessel is under our control, safe from all harm." Lucifer, bluffing, says, "Safe is she? Then you have nothing to worry about. And what's the worst that can happen? In 100 million years or so, if the conditions are right, you can lay another egg." Jill screams out, "Oh my God, make him stop! Kill me or make him stop! I can't bear this much pain!" The Innocence card, not wanting to lose this egg they've impregnated into Jill, asks Lucifer, "What is your offer?" Lucifer responds, "Actually, it's more of an ultimatum. Extinguish yourselves and I'll let her live, and I'll take no action against your offspring unless it threatens me first." The spirits, not wanting to lose their offspring, give in to Lucifer's demands. They begin extinguishing themselves, until eventually all that is left is the Innocence card, and the other cards have just been formed into a deck. Lucifer asks, "Are they all in there? All in suit order? Or do I need to count to you?" The Innocence card answers, "No, we're all here. Your universe doomed us, Lightbringer. Not your will or your intellect. It dimmed our sight and confused our strategies." Lucifer responds, "My universe expresses my will. Do you need a match by any chance?" The Innocence card then burns the deck and then burns herself. As the Innocence card is burning herself and uncreating herself, she still says one last thing to Lucifer. She says, "Still, we might have won if your strength had not returned to you. We should not have believed Susano's assurances. We are best alone." Lucifer then admits he was bluffing. He replies, "My strength? No, that didn't turn out to be crucial after all. But I count myself lucky that you're a tarot deck rather than a poker deck." Jill Presto, who was in on it, says to the Innocence card, "Don't knock my performance. I put my heart and soul into that. You think I've got a future on the legitimate stage?" The Innocence card, realizing that she and the other Basnos have been had and fooled, has a surprised look on her face until she eventually fully burns away and dies. In the aftermath, Jill Presto asks if Lucifer can return her arm to her that was destroyed. Lucifer tells Jill, "We'll talk about that later. For now, you best stand away from me." Mazikeen then talks with Lucifer. Lucifer, he is grateful for her assistance, and he says as soon as he can, he will give her back her face. Mazikeen wants something else too, though. She says, "I ask that the Lilim be granted a homeland here on this world, acting as your army, enjoying your favor and your protection." Lucifer, he gives in to these demands, admitting that Mazikeen has a real flair for politics. Mazikeen then bows before Lucifer and says, "You have accepted my sword and my oath, Lord. I am your servant again. All my skills are yours to command." Jill Presto then jokes to Mazikeen, "Oh, hey there. You're looking good." This really pisses Mazikeen off, as Jill is the reason her face is not scarred anymore. So Mazikeen slaps Jill in the face, and then she yells at Jill, "Once the child is born, the blessing of the Basnos will pass from you. That is when I will find you, when you can once again bleed and die." As more time passed, the brief but terrible reign of the Basnos left few memorials. The Lilim dealt with the tower, and the ruined cities were simply abandoned. Lucifer, he had outlawed worship, but he said nothing either way about superstition. Lucifer, he then had long conversations with Jill Presto, and then with the generals of the Lilim in exile. It seems like Lucifer gave them a task to do. And Lucifer had a task for Melios as well. On the morning Melios was to leave Lucifer's cosmos, they spoke one final time of debt and obligation and of the child, Elaine Belloc. Lucifer had a message for her father. Since Melios was instrumental in her death, Lucifer bade Melios to carry it for him. And once all of that was done, Lucifer realized it has now been exactly 1 year ago. 1 year ago since he made a promise with Amenadiel that they would have a duel in the province of Ephral in Hell. And Lucifer, even though now he is powerless, he has an appointment to keep. Lucifer issue 28, Breaking and Entering. We follow Gaudium and his sister Spira. The two of them traverse the realms of pain and hell, and they exchange some humorous bickering as they walk around. They discuss their past. When they were cherub angels in heaven, they were just spherical beings of light that bobbed up and down. They were spherical because it was the perfect platonic shape. They also discuss how they heard Lucifer's pitch back in the day, and he won them over with his arguments. Lucifer told them there are many more tangents, so many choices, so many possibilities that open up once the sterility of perfection is renounced. So they changed out of their spherical shape and got the appearance they have now. And then, in Lucifer's war with heaven, they took his side in the battle, but of course, Lucifer lost, and Gaudium and Spira were cast out. Gaudium then discusses how the Archangel Michael was the one that tasked him to watch over Elaine Belloc. In exchange, Michael offered to put in a good word with God to get Gaudium a pardon, a full pardon. Of course, with Elaine dead now, the hope of a pardon is gone. Gaudium, he also says he really liked Elaine. Anyway, Gaudium and Spira need to get by now, so they hatch some schemes. They go to a place in hell called the House of the Sleeper. They break in. They attempt to steal something. A crazy bat creature attacks them. They escape, but now the crazy bat creature is chasing after them. As they are trying to fly away frantically from the beast after them, the Archangel Michael swoops down to save them. Michael gets on the back of the creature, chokes it a bit, and then sends it on its way. With the creature gone, Michael then grabs Gaudium and Spira and flies them to safety. They go to a cafe on Earth, and they talk. Gaudium and Spira discuss some of their recent failures and schemes. They then ask Michael, "So, how are things with you, generally?" Michael responds, "My Father has cast me forth from heaven, and from the perfection of his love, I am exiled." So clearly, Michael's talk with God from a few issues ago did not go that well, and they had some disagreements. Michael continues talking and says, "But come, we are the authors of our own lives, and despair is the only unpardonable sin." The dance goes on. The three of them then all leave the cafe. And with this, we end Lucifer Volume 4.
All right, so that was Lucifer Volume 4, and I thought this was a pretty exciting story arc of a whole bunch of people moving into Lucifer's cosmos, and what is that going to be like? I think it is a really intriguing sci-fi concept, how Lucifer's cosmos moves faster than God's universe, the regular universe, and playing with some of that time dilation here in the storytelling was really fun. I actually really liked the writing on the wall issue with the centaur, and this woman, the centaur woman that leaves Lucifer's cosmos, and then she comes back, and all of a sudden there's a huge time jump, and it's very odd to her how that happened. And I thought it was also interesting that that centaur woman, she lived basically her whole life in Lucifer's cosmos, like many others had now, but yet to Lucifer, she is just nothing but a blip, a small blip in the grand scheme of his universe there. So really intriguing stuff with that. We had the Bassinos playing a huge part in the story arc, and they're kind of an interesting villain. I thought I was a little bit mixed on the whole Izanami, Susano, tainted feather in Lucifer's wings, and how that messed him up and caused him to almost die. I don't know, it's just a little bit hard to fully buy into the rules of everything and how they screwed Lucifer there. But it does leave Lucifer in an interesting status quo at the end of this story arc, where he's sort of depowered now, and now he has to go into duel Amenadiel in hell per their agreement they made a year prior. So that's going to be intriguing for the next story arc to see how Lucifer manages to win a duel without his powers. How is he going to pull that off? We also had another plot point in here where Jill Presto gets impregnated by the Bassinos, which is pretty wild. I don't really know where that's going to go. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. We also had Elaine dying, although we'll see how that plays out too. Who knows what the rules are? Maybe she'll come back in some convoluted way. I have not read the rest of Lucifer, so I don't know how these plot threads are going to go. So I'm kind of curious to see where things play out. But yeah, fun volume. I had a good time. There's lots of intriguing plot threads going on. I'm going to give this volume an 8 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. I'll be back in the future with more Lucifer and other comics.